Good evening, everyone. So, a lot of people are asking whether they should invest in a manufacturing mutual fund or not. So, I will try to answer this question in a very practical way today, and we'll try to keep this whole video as short as possible and as informative as possible. Let's start. So, a lot of mutual fund companies have introduced new fund offers or NFOs in the area of manufacturing, as you can see on your screen. So, in last 9 months, especially in last 2 3 months, a lot of NFOs have come, and I hear that a lot of NFOs are also in pipeline. So why is this buzz? Why is it that all of a sudden everybody is talking about manufacturing? So it starts with the initiative of government of India. Like number one is Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is about making India self-reliant and not depend on imported items. It is about making India self-dependent in the areas like starting from the needle to the aircraft. It includes even areas like defense. It includes areas like manufacturing, pharma, any automobiles, any area you can name, laptops or computer hardware, green energy. I mean, you can talk about anything, and the whole idea of government is to make India self-dependent. The second initiative that was announced in August 2023 with a massive budget of 1 lakh crore was Gati Shakti scheme, which focuses on once again creating world-class infrastructure in India, especially in the logistical aspect, connectivity aspects, etc. And that will definitely lead to a lot of manufacturing. It will also create a good I mean, it will be good for automobile sector and anything that has something to do with infrastructure and especially the logistical part, roads and all that. And the government has also focused off late in the area of production linked incentive scheme, where incentives are being offered to in the for manufacturing in the areas like electronics or bulk drugs or pharmaceuticals, telecommunication hardware, food processing, and whatnot. So, as you can see, the government has a multifocal focus or multi-level focus and yet very sharp focus on manufacturing in India. Plus, after COVID, what happened that every developed countries supply chain was stuck up in China because so every country felt that they should not outsource their manufacturing only to China, but they should also have at least other country where they can outsource their manufacturing or from where their supply chain passes. So India is trying to become that one. China plus one policy of all the developed countries, governments of the world. India is trying to become that China plus one. Okay, so that is where also we have a big opportunity. Now we have also seen some results of these efforts of government of India of related to Atmanirbhar Bharat or PLI scheme or other schemes. Like for example, Apple plans to build over 50 million iPhones in India in the next 2 to 3 years. India's manufacturing sector is gaining momentum, reflected in the economic activity as well. In March 2024, the HSBC India Manufacturing PMI Index reached 16-year high of around 59.1, indicating the strong expansion. Means there is an empirical evidence now that Indian manufacturing is expanding, doing well. Foxconn, you must have heard, one of the key suppliers of Apple, it announced that $1.5 billion investment in India, and Tata Group is also planning an iPhone assembly plant in Tamil Nadu, with its Karnataka plant already operational. As you can see, it's not like that Make in India or China Plus One or Atmanirbhar Bharat or Gati Shakti are only slogans. We can see the effects, we can see the ground level activities, and we can also see the evidence that Indian manufacturing activity is increasing in this HSBC India Manufacturing PMI Index. Apart from that, there are also some other evidences. For example, Google will make Pixel 8 phones in India with Dixon Technologies. Micron became the first major global semiconductor company to put up a base in India. AMD, which is a competitor of Intel, it inaugurated its largest global design center in Bengaluru as part of its 400 million investment in India. Now see, but then the picture is looking very rosy, but we should always look at the pros and cons of everything. So what happened in 2006-7? I still remember. Even I had been caught off guard in this. But in 2006-7, India was talking about infrastructure boom. So infrastructure companies were growing, they were borrowing heavily to expand the capacity, and obviously at that time, right now, like we are talking about the manufacturing, at the same time in 2006-7 there was a euphoria around infrastructure in India. And once again, like right now it is happening, the AMCs came up with a lot of NFOs related to infrastructural funds, and they were able to, they were trying to engage that sentiment and opportunity. And now this what happened is, the funds, 6 funds of infrastructure were introduced in 2007, and other three were introduced in 2008. So 9 infrastructure funds were NFOs were launched in 2006 to, sorry, 7 and 8. After the initial hype fizzled out, what happened is the funds failed to perform. So by 2013 March, all infra funds were bleeding and remained chronic underperformers till 2022. And from 31 May 2007 to 31 May 2022, infra funds delivered only 8.3% returns at par with PPF. So if I can put money in PPF and earn the same returns without taking any risk, why should I put my money in a thematic fund and take extra risk? Okay, so this is something that should be kept in mind, that such sectoral funds or thematic funds always come with their own sets of risks. In the same time, flexi cap funds returned around 11.7, and the best infra fund only managed 11%. So even an average in, you can say, flexi cap fund was also able to beat the best infra funds returns during that time. Infra funds return profile has improved only in the past 2 years, averaging 12% since 2007. In comparison, flexi cap funds have averaged 30%, 13%. The returns clearly did not justify hype around the infra stocks. So is it like that manufacturing will see the same repeat story of infrastructure? So let's try and dig into that. Now see, analysts are confident that India's manufacturing sector has stronger foundation than its past infrastructure ambitions. Arihant Barida, Baradia, CIO, Chief Investment Officers of WellTrust Capital, notes that the infrastructure sector in 2006-8 period was burdened by unhealthy leverage. That means there was too much debt on these companies which were in infrastructure space in 2006-8, red tapeism and corruption. It was only cyclical and had long gestation periods with delayed returns. These issues do not affect manufacturing companies today. I mean, this is one opinion of Mr. Baradia, and I respect that opinion. But still, this space is very risky. Although, what we can conclude from this opinion of Mr. Baradia is that compared to infrastructure, manufacturing is obviously less risky, and business environment then was very different, and business environment right now is very different. So obviously it is not an apple to apple comparison, but still it is a good precedent before you jump into investing into a manufacturing fund. So my verdict, this is my verdict, my opinion: should you invest in a manufacturing fund? It is my personal opinion that such funds are generally best avoided for at least a typical retail investor. Manufacturing includes a very wide spectrum, and a well diversified fund will also have a large chunk of investment in manufacturing sector, generally enough for a retail investor. Now, say you may argue that you may suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out. That if my friend earns 50 or 100% returns in 1 or 2 years in manufacturing, what about me? मैं रह जाऊंगा ना, fear of missing out. But then please understand, any diversified mutual fund, including a typical flexi cap fund, will have some portion of manufacturing. And if the fund manager sees opportunities in manufacturing, he will definitely, the fund manager of a flexi cap fund will definitely put some money in manufacture. I mean, this infrastructure, in manufacturing sector. Okay. So the risk reward ratio of a manufacturing is not too much in favor, and it is a typical thematic fund. Here is an evidence of that. So manufacturing India has outperformed the broader market only 23% of time in last 5 to 6 years. Okay. So from April 2019 to April 2024, only 23% of time it has happened that infrastructure has beaten the BSE 500, that is overall market. So if you invest in a typical flexi cap fund, there is a far more higher probability that you will earn more rather than investing in a typical infrastructure fund. In other words, if you start SIP in both, there is a far more higher probability that you will make more money in a flexi cap fund. Still, if you want to invest in a manufacturing fund, do not invest more than 5% of your total investable amount. If your total investment is 100 rupees, then not more than 5 rupees should go to a manufacturing mutual fund. Keep this fund in the satellite part of your portfolio. I'm sure you must have watched my last video on core versus satellite. If not, please go and watch it. So make sure that you keep this mutual fund in the satellite part of your portfolio. If you don't understand that, then please listen to the other line. Please, generally, although you may start, but generally one should not do SIP in such funds because these funds are cyclical. So invest a lump sum and make sure that you exit this fund and book profits when the cycle of manufacturing gets over. Now for that you will need to know, starting from macroeconomics to the political environment, world, geopolitical dynamics, so many. You will definitely need far more knowledge than even a good economics teacher. So I'm not sure everybody is that capable, or even if your advisor would be that much capable, fine. But with that condition, you can put some lump sum and keep a watch on the performance of this fund. And here is one more evidence that if you decide to go with a flexi cap and not not go with a manufacturing fund, and look at the portfolio in both. So the above one, okay, this one, just a minute. Sorry, not very good all at all. This one, okay, this one is um, okay, this one is basically uh, manufacturing funds sector allocation of ICICI, okay, and compared to that, this one is ICICI flexi cap funds sector allocation. Now if you see here in both, there is one thing in common. So automobile is common in both, okay, and once again, if you see here, there is material, metals, mining, healthcare, that is in pharma, etc. So I'm sure here in others, some of these sectors will be there. Okay. So if manufacturing is going to do well, then this FlexiCap fund, if you see, has already got heavy weightage. Okay, around 25 to I'm sure 30% of manufacturing companies. Okay. So, to run a diversified portfolio, this is how much you need to invest in manufacturing sector, and for that you don't need a separate fund. Okay. Still, if you want to go ahead, you feel that you are a very high risk investor, and fine, then don't buy an NFO. Invest in any existing fund, and out of these funds, I would not recommend any fund, but these are some of the funds that have already been made available in the market, fine. So you can select any fund. I will not name any fund. You can select any existing manufacturing fund, do your own analysis, fine, but don't go for an NFO. That's the final advice. Thank you very much. I hope you found the whole presentation or video to be informative. I was not at my best during the delivery, but I'm sure still, as far as giving information is concerned, I did give you an as much holistic picture as possible. Thank you very much. Good night.